I used to believe that the worst thing you could feel on your birthday was loneliness. Turns out, there's something worse, sitting at a table surrounded by people you love, smiling, laughing, toasting to many more, while two of them are secretly seeing each other behind your back. That night, the room was candlelit and golden, the kind of soft light that makes everything look like a dream. My boyfriend, Liam, was pouring wine. My best friend, Sierra, was already a little too tipsy. The air smelled like rosemary steak and jasmine perfume. And for just a second, I let myself believe I was happy. You know that feeling? When your life looks so perfect it almost scares you. Yeah, that. I wore the dress Liam bought me in Santorini. Black silk, halter neckline. His fingers had traced it over my collarbone once like I was something delicate. That night, he looked at me like I was someone else's reflection. Not distant, just off. Like he was seeing a ghost he didn't expect to haunt him yet. I didn't see the truth then. I just felt a shift. Sierra was being extra bubbly, calling me birthday queen, clinking glasses too eagerly. I brushed it off. Maybe she was just happy. Maybe she was just drunk. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I didn't want to ruin the night by admitting something felt wrong. Liam kissed my temple. "To the love of my life," he said, raising his glass. I smiled and clinked mine back. "To many more." God, I want to go back in time and shake myself. Tell her, me, that this was the moment to run. But no. I just laughed. Played hostess. Smiled for the Instagram boomerangs. Let them sing to me while Sierra swayed beside me, her hand on my shoulder like she hadn't just stabbed it. I didn't see the betrayal that night, but I felt it. It came as a whisper in my gut. A flicker in Liam's eyes when he caught Sierra looking at him too long. The way she quickly looked away and laughed too loud. I saw the photo the next morning. It was almost an accident. Almost. I stopped by Sierra's place to pick up the earrings I left there the week before. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen island. A preview flashed on the lock screen. A message. From Liam. No name, just a heart emoji and the words. "Last night was torture. Watching you wear that dress and not touching you." I froze. My brain short-circuited. I didn't want to read it again. But I did. 5 more times. Maybe 6. I didn't snoop. I fell. My fingers moved on their own. I unlocked her phone. The passcode was her dog's birthday. How pathetic, and I saw it all. The texts. The hidden folder of photos. Some innocent. Some not. The first photo was them at a rooftop bar. The second was a mirror selfie in his apartment, his shirtless back turned, her in his hoodie. And the third? The third was a selfie Sierra took in my black silk dress. The one she insisted I wear last night. The one Liam bought me. Her caption. "Do you think she noticed I suggested the dress you said you loved?" I stood there with her phone in my hand, my whole world bleeding out of me. My breath shallow. My mouth dry. Heart doing that weird arrhythmic thing heartbreak triggers, half panic attack, half slow death. She came out of the bathroom humming, still damp, towel-wrapped, smelling like vanilla and sin. I smiled at her. I swear to God, I smiled. "Found my earrings," I said, holding them up. She beamed. "You're such a Virgo, always keeping track of stuff." And I nodded. "Yeah, I pay attention." That was the moment I decided I wouldn't break down. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't beg either of them for answers. Instead, I'd bury the pain so deep they wouldn't see it coming. They thought they shattered me. But what they really did was set something loose. They say betrayal changes you. I used to think that was poetic nonsense. That heartbreak just makes you cry into a pint of overpriced ice cream and listen to breakup playlists on repeat. But betrayal, it doesn't just hurt. It rebuilds you. Wrong. It burns the old you to ash and waits to see what rises next. I didn't cry that morning. I didn't confront Sierra. I didn't call Liam and scream down the line like a scorned lover from a soap opera. I drove home with my hands gripping the wheel like I was trying to strangle the steering column. My knuckles pale. My jaw locked so tight I could feel the echo in my teeth. I pulled into my parking garage. I went upstairs. I took off that stupid silk dress. And I stared at myself in the mirror for a long, long time. I should have looked wrecked, hollowed out, but I didn't. I looked still, and somewhere behind my eyes, something cracked. Something that had believed I was safe, that I was loved, that the world was fair if you worked hard and chose the right people. That part of me snapped. It didn't make a sound, but I swear I heard it. I showered, dressed in all black. Not dramatic, just simple. Clean lines. Wore armor for the soul. I brewed coffee. Ate a single slice of toast. Sat at my kitchen counter and opened my laptop. Then I logged into Liam's company database. Yes, I had access. I'd helped build their entire client onboarding pipeline. I wasn't just the girlfriend, though that's how most of his team viewed me. I was the quiet tech whisperer behind the curtain, the one who cleaned up the code when the junior devs botched things. Liam once joked, "You're the brain behind my brilliance." I used to smile when he said that. Now I wondered if he meant it, or if I was just another feature of his success, like the Tesla in his driveway or the overpriced whiskey he never drank. I began mapping out his team. Stakeholders.
Who owned what?
Who really held sway. Most of the board liked him, but not personally. That was the thing. Liam charmed clients, not colleagues. His CTO? Secretly resented him. The COO? Sick of his impulsive spending. And me? I had nothing left to lose. I spent the entire day building a spreadsheet. Not of code. Not of analytics. Of leverage. Every detail I knew. Offhand remarks Liam had made in bed, board meeting gossip Sierra had spilled after too many mojitos, minor bugs we'd fixed that weren't logged properly, client disputes swept under the rug. I wrote it all down. One column after another. Names. Emails.
Dates.
Context. Each row felt like a pulse. A heartbeat. I wasn't just plotting revenge. I was performing CPR on myself with data. Around 4 p.m., Liam texted me. "Last night was amazing. You looked stunning. Can't wait to spoil you this weekend, face blowing a kiss." He had no idea. No clue that the version of me reading his message wasn't the same woman he kissed 24 hours ago. I didn't reply. I didn't even get angry. Instead, I stared at my phone and thought, "You arrogant, empty shell of a man. You really think I'm still yours?" I opened his Instagram. He'd posted a photo from last night. Me, blowing out candles. Sierra in the background, blurred but present. The caption? "To the woman who makes my world make sense." There were over 300 likes already. Comments from our mutual friends. Heart emojis.
Cake gifts.
People I considered close saying how lucky I was. Lucky. Lucky to be publicly celebrated by a man who'd been privately inside my best friend. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The apartment was dark.
Cold.
Quiet. My pillow smelled faintly like him. My throat hurt from silence. And finally, I cried. But not for them. I cried for the version of me that believed love was enough. That being kind meant people would be kind back. That loyalty was sacred. That version of me deserved tears. The woman rising in her place? She didn't. By morning, I was ready to begin. Grief is strange. Everyone thinks it hits you like a wave. All at once. Violent and loud. But sometimes, it arrives like mist, seeping in through cracks you didn't know were open. Coating everything. You don't drown. You marinate. That was me. 3 days after Sierra's betrayal. 2 days after Liam's love note text. 1 day into my deep dive into their world. By then, I wasn't grieving anymore. I was gathering. I started with small things. Old photo albums. Tagged Instagram stories. Venmo payments between the two of them, coffee runs, Uber splits, bar tabs. Innocent on the surface. But once you know what to look for, it all feels radioactive. There were patterns. Liam's golf weekends always coincided with Sierra's out-of-town weddings. She posted less frequently when she was with him. He used to tag me in everything until 3 months ago. Then nothing. I remembered a joke Liam once made at dinner with friends. Sierra's basically our third wheel at this point. They'd laughed. I had, too. But now, I could hear the joke behind the joke. The smirk he tried to hide. The way Sierra had bumped his knee under the table and pretended it was mine. How did I miss it? Was I blind? Naive? Or just so determined to believe in what we had that I chose not to look too closely? The answer, it turns out, was all three. One night, I logged into our shared cloud account, the one we used for organizing travel receipts and digital keepsakes. Big mistake on his part, honestly. He'd never changed the permissions. His arrogance, his laziness, whatever you call it, meant I still had full access to his digital footprint. And that's when I found the folder, hidden inside a subfolder labeled Q3 Expenses. Nice touch, Liam. Real subtle. Inside were screenshots. Screenshots of them. Their messages, selfies, playlists they shared, memes they sent each other. Some were sweet. Others were dirty. One was a photo of her in my robe, in my kitchen, flipping pancakes like she lived there. My chest squeezed. My hands trembled. That robe had been a gift from my sister. That kitchen? I taught Liam how to cook in it. It was mine. I was his. But none of it meant anything, did it? That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked around the apartment like a ghost, staring at every item we'd bought together. The framed prints we argued over at the market. The books I forced him to read. The throw blanket Sierra once spilled wine on and blamed the cat for. Everything here had history. And now, it all felt infected. But I didn't scream.
Didn't smash anything.
Didn't send a single word to either of them. Instead, I poured a glass of red wine, sat in my desk chair, opened my laptop, and created a private folder titled, The Take Back. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I'm also not sorry. I began downloading every scrap of intel I could find. Liam's meeting schedules, client lists from his project management app, old email chains about contracts he never finalized, notes Sierra had sent him, some flirty, some risky, some with business advice she didn't have the credentials to give. She was advising him on my work, and badly at that. Even worse, she'd helped him secure a shady investor I'd vetoed a year ago. An investor I knew, from my former job, was under quiet investigation for siphoning startup capital into crypto laundering schemes. They were reckless. They thought they were brilliant. But I saw it now. Liam had built his kingdom on whispers and borrowed charm. And Sierra? She was nothing more than his echo. The worst part? They weren't in love. Not really. That much was clear in the messages. The compliments were hollow. The sex talk was mechanical. The selfies were forced. What they shared wasn't romance, it was secrecy. The thrill of doing something forbidden. And people like that? They never last. But I would. As the sun rose through my blinds, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Power. Not a lot. Just a flicker. A match lit in a windstorm. But it was enough. Because now I had names. I had files. I had timestamps. And most importantly, I had a plan. They tried to erase me quietly. Now, I'd return the favor. Loudly. People expect revenge to be loud. They think you burn the clothes, smash the plates, curse their names on social media. That you scream into pillows and write scathing texts at 2 a.m. But real revenge? It's quiet. It walks into the room, kisses you on the cheek, and hands you the gift you bought for your own funeral. 3 days after I found the folder, I saw Sierra again. We met for brunch. Her idea, of course. A bestie catch-up, complete with smiley emojis and a too cheerful, just us girls caption when she posted the invite screenshot to her story. I accepted without hesitation. She had no idea I knew. No idea I'd seen everything. No idea she was about to sit across from someone who no longer trusted, loved, or even recognized her. I wore cream linen and soft pink lipstick, the color of innocence. Sierra showed up 10 minutes late in one of those effortless outfits that actually take 3 hours and 3 mirror tantrums to get right. She hugged me tightly, like we hadn't just been smiling through different definitions of friendship for months. "You look radiant," she chirped. "Love that for you. Radiant." That's what she said. Meanwhile, The mental slideshow in my brain was still rolling.
Her in my robe. Her on his lap.
Her texting him during my birthday speech. I smiled. Thanks. You too. We ordered mimosas and oat milk lattes. Talked about everything and nothing. She told me about a new guy she was kinda into, which was rich, considering she was still actively screwing mine. She even had the audacity to ask, "How's Liam?" Still being a golden retriever boyfriend. I laughed. You know him. Loyal to a fault. If she caught the acid underneath, she didn't show it. Just stirred her straw absently and started a story about her boss being a toxic nightmare. I nodded at all the right moments, even gave her a "you deserve better, babe." She really believed we were okay. And that, I decided, was the gift I'd give her. Let her feel safe. Let her believe she got away with it. I even reached into my tote bag halfway through and pulled out the little box I'd wrapped the night before. "Your belated birthday gift," I said. Her eyes lit up. "You didn't have to." She tore the paper open, revealing the silver bracelet she'd once admired on a celebrity's page. I remembered her sending it to me in a DM. This would be so cute for my birthday. She squealed and slipped it on immediately. "Gorgeous, right?" I said. "Looks expensive, but I found a good deal." And then, because I couldn't resist, I added, "Same place Liam got my necklace." She blinked. For half a second I saw it, her eyes did that tiny flicker, like a dog that just heard a distant siren. But she played it off. "Wow, you're both so thoughtful." I raised my glass. "To thoughtful people." She clinked hers to mine. "And loyal ones." That one nearly made me choke. I spent the rest of the brunch complimenting her, asking about work, telling her how lucky I felt to have a best friend like her. She lapped it up like poison honey. And when the check came, I paid. I paid for her coffee, her mimosa, her meal. Smiled and said, "Don't worry. You'll get the next one." There wouldn't be a next one. At least, not the kind she imagined. Later that night, Liam came over. I let him. Not because I wanted him, not because I forgave him, but because I needed to see how far he'd take the lie. He walked through my front door with wine, sushi, and an air of practiced romance. Surprise, he grinned, kissing my cheek. I kissed him back. Do you know how hard it is to kiss someone after seeing them press their lips to your best friend's neck? But I did it. Because playing dumb, I've learned, is the best camouflage in a war they don't know they've started. He told me about work, about some new investor he was courting, ironically, the same one I now had dirt on. I nodded, asked smart questions, smiled. Then I reached into the drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside, just a fake draft of a project pitch I knew he was desperate to land. I told him I'd been working on it quietly, as a surprise. He lit up like a child, praised me, called me a genius. And just like that, he let me in, deeper than ever before. He didn't know he'd just handed me the key to his kingdom. When he left that night, I stood at the window and watched him drive off. Then I turned to the couch, sat down, took a breath. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was preparing. They thought they'd written me out of the script, but I was about to become the author of their downfall. When you're the girlfriend, no one watches you closely. You're not seen as a threat. You're the one who brings cupcakes to the launch party. The one who does back-end stuff they don't understand. The plus one. The techie girlfriend with the pretty smile and invisible skill set. And that's exactly why I got away with everything. Liam's company, Voltstream Labs, was his pride and joy. A mid-stage AI startup positioned as the future of ethical enterprise optimization. That's tech bro speak for a glorified chatbot that tells HR when you've been slacking. He pitched it like gospel. It's accountability, gamified. In truth, it was unstable, oversold, and built on the backs of 3 unpaid interns, 2 burned-out devs, and me, the only one who ever quietly rewrote his code to keep the app from eating itself. I used to patch up bugs for free. Now, I started noting every single flaw I'd ever covered for. I made 3 lists. 1. The code-based skeletons. Every logic loop I'd fixed. Every client-crippling bug I'd buried. I laid them all out, highlighted in red. Every patch I'd applied under Liam's login. If this ship went down, he was going down alone. 2. The people who hated him, quietly. You'd be surprised how many there were. The CTO, Ravi, resented being underpaid and overshadowed. The head of partnerships, Maddie, once confided in me that Liam had taken credit for a major deal she closed. The interns? They called him Dollar Store Elon behind his back. I reached out to them subtly. A Slack message here. A how's life? DM there. I wasn't obvious. I was curious.
Listening. Documenting.
3. The financial wounds. Liam had never been good with money. His investor reports were dressed up like high school essays, fluff, filler, and a prayer. His last 3 marketing pushes had failed.
Hard.
The newest investor he was chasing? Kenneth Doyle, a man who once tanked a biotech firm and blamed it on female-led HR distractions. Yeah, I'd done my homework. Meanwhile, I made myself useful. I offered to help out more, said I was ready to be a co-builder, not just a sidekick. He lapped it up. God, I've missed this part of you, he said one night as I sketched out a new client acquisition funnel. When we're in sync like this, it's magic. I kissed him. What I didn't say was that this magic came with a kill switch, one only I could reach. By week's end, I had full access to every project file, his email inbox, his team calendar. I even sat in on a pitch call under the guise of UX support. That's when I saw it. He was slipping. He stuttered through the investor questions. His numbers were off. He had no answers for client churn. And worst of all, he didn't see it. Liam had always been good at selling charm. But without me quietly sweeping up the mess behind him, he was starting to smell like rot. That night, I sent a short, anonymous tip to one of the smaller tech blogs. Voltstream Labs has a leak. CEO falsified rollout timelines. Sources say app stability is worse than internal docs admit. They ran it the next day. The article didn't name names. It didn't have to. It just planted a seed of doubt, and that's all I needed. At brunch the next morning, Sierra brought it up. You see that little Voltstream thing on LinkedIn? Weird, right? I sipped my coffee. You think someone's trying to sabotage them? She shrugged. Could be Maddie. She's always had it out for Liam. I laughed gently. People do weird things when they're overlooked. Here's what they both didn't know. I wasn't overlooked anymore. I was observing. And every day, I saw the cracks deepen. The product wasn't working. The team was disillusioned. The board was losing faith. Liam still walked around like a king. But the kingdom? It was mine now. There's something uniquely nauseating about being condescended to by someone who betrayed you. It's like watching a mosquito land on your arm, knowing it's about to bite, and choosing not to slap it, just so you can track its every move. Sierra texted me midweek. You've seemed distant lately, babe. Everything good?
Babe.
It's always babe with her. Every woman was babe, but I had once been the babe. Her closest, her ride or die. Her soul sister. Now, I was just her liability with a long memory. We met at her place. Her idea. She'd made tea, which really meant she was trying to stage vulnerability. Chamomile, beeswax candles, some sod playing low in the background. I just feel like we've drifted, she said, sitting cross-legged in overpriced yoga pants, pretending this was about us. Not once did she mention Liam. Not once did she address the text, the photo,
The robe.
the betrayal.
No.
What I got instead was her performance of regret, a version of herself carefully curated to look like concern but laced with guilt-soaked self-preservation. I played along. I guess I've just been distracted, I said, cradling the teacup. Life. Work, Liam. She flinched slightly at his name.
Good.
She looked at me then really looked, as if trying to gauge whether I knew. And when she couldn't read me, she pivoted. I've been thinking maybe we should do a girls' trip. Just us. Like old times. Like old times. Before she stole my man, snuck into my life like a termite, and started chewing from the inside out. I smiled. That sounds perfect. Then she made a mistake. She leaned forward and said, I mean, not to be weird, but if Liam's the reason things feel off, you can talk to me. You know I'd never do anything to hurt you. There it was. The lie. Smooth as velvet. Laced with plausible deniability. She was baiting me. Testing the waters. Seeing if I'd bite. I didn't. I blinked at her, gave a soft laugh, and said, honestly, if Liam was cheating, you'd be the first person I'd call. Her smile faltered. Only for a second. But it was delicious. That night, I forwarded our conversation to my encrypted journal file. Yes, I'd started one. Full audio recordings, screen captures, time-stamped behavior logs. Paranoid? Maybe. But Sierra had become reckless. And reckless people make the best evidence. Meanwhile, my web was tightening. I'd spoken to Maddie from Liam's team. Casually, of course. Just a little back and forth over coffee. Harmless networking. She let it slip that the board had begun whispering. Investors were nervous. A few contracts were in limbo. And there was one exec, the oldest guy on the board, who'd always favored stability over charisma. Translation? He hated Liam's guts and just needed a reason to act. I planned to give him 3. Back at home, I got an email from Sierra. Sent you the draft for that pitch doc you were helping Liam with. Hope it's close to what he wants. Don't tell him I leaked it to you, winky face. She included a half-complete proposal, an investor doc Liam hadn't finished yet.
So,
she was feeding me scraps behind his back now. I stared at her message, and I swear, for one moment, I felt sad. Not angry. Not disgusted. Just tired. She wasn't my friend anymore. She was a child playing chess with a knife. And I was playing chess with her entire future. Later that night, Liam texted me again. You're amazing. Seriously. Couldn't do this pitch without you. Let's do something special this weekend? Just us. I read the message 3 times. Then I replied. Sounds perfect. Because yes, we would be doing something special. But it wouldn't be romantic. It would be surgical. There's a kind of power in being underestimated. Men like Liam only see brilliance when it comes with a business card or a blazer. To him, I was supportive. Helpful. His secret weapon. But here's the thing about secret weapons. Eventually, they're deployed. And when they are, no one sees them coming. I started going into the office again. At first, just to check in. Sit in on pitch meetings. Offer technical feedback. Be the helpful partner everyone had forgotten was integral to the company's original infrastructure. Liam was thrilled. God, I missed having you in the room, he said, grinning across the boardroom table like I wasn't silently cataloging every weak point in his executive team. Ravi, the CTO, barely looked at him. Maddie sat through meetings with arms crossed. The interns had started whispering again. Something about unpaid overtime and Liam forgetting their names for the 3rd time that week. The mood was tense. The glamour was gone. And I was listening. There's a magic to invisibility. When people think you're a passive presence, they'll say anything in front of you. They'll ignore you in Slack threads. Forward you confidential files by mistake. Assume you're there to take notes and not names. And so, I became the ghost in his office. The one who quietly rerouted credit for projects I'd built, back to myself. The one who casually helped Maddie frame a new client outreach deck, then positioned her to present it alone to the board, knowing Liam would show up late and uninformed. The one who fixed a critical dev bug before a launch and let Ravi, accidentally, mention it in front of the most skeptical investor. Thankfully, she caught it. Otherwise, we'd be in legal territory. I smiled modestly. Liam fumed silently. It wasn't sabotage. It was subtraction. I was just removing my silence from his brilliance and watching it collapse. Meanwhile, Liam had no idea that I'd been consulting with 3 of VoltStream's former clients under a new LLC I'd registered 2 weeks prior. A consulting agency, clean, efficient, niche. Built in the image of everything VoltStream pretended to be. With one major difference. It actually worked. I didn't poach clients. I just let them know they had options. They made the decision. Back at the office, Liam pulled me aside after a strategy session. You're really coming back into your own, he said. It's sexy. I'd forgotten how good you are at this stuff. I nodded.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just remembering who I am. He kissed my cheek. I looked him in the eye and imagined cutting the throat of his legacy with a dotted line. That night, Sierra texted me. Liam's being kinda distant lately. You think he's stressed about work? Just want to make sure he's not, like, turning cold. Turning cold. Darling, he's not turning cold. He's turning obsolete. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent a friendly team update to Maddie and Ravi with suggestions for the upcoming stakeholder strategy memo, subtly flipping the language to highlight instability in leadership, burnout in tech, and a lack of vision. I knew exactly who would read it, and what they'd do with it. By the end of that week, VoltStream's internal numbers dropped. Client engagement was down. Employee satisfaction was in the red. And Liam's board presence? Non-existent. He was too busy schmoozing Doyle, our crypto-sketchy investor friend. He thought money would save him. But what he didn't realize was that I'd already drafted a dossier on Doyle, one that, once leaked, would make any remaining investor jump ship just to dodge the scandal. All it needed was timing. And a signature. Meanwhile, the ghost in the office kept smiling. Quiet. Efficient. Dangerous. There's a particular tone some women use when they think they've won. It's syrupy. Patronizing. The kind of voice you'd use to comfort a toddler who lost a toy. That's the voice Sierra used when she said, I just worry sometimes that you're, I don't know, jealous. She was curled on my couch, bare feet tucked under her, sipping chai like she hadn't detonated my entire life from the inside out. Let me back up. It had been a strange week. Liam was spiraling, even if he didn't know it yet. Meetings were going wrong. Clients were stalling. The board was quiet. Too quiet. Meanwhile, Sierra had started texting more often, checking in, suggesting wine nights, asking about Liam in casually loaded ways. He seemed kinda tired when I saw him. You guys good? You don't think he's getting bored, do you? She was testing me, poking the wound to see if it bled. And me? I just kept smiling. So when she showed up for a low-key girls' night, I played my role. Warm, welcoming, wine poured. We made flatbread. We talked about work. She mentioned how overwhelming her new consulting client was. Funny, considering that client had just quietly signed with my LLC last week. I knew. She didn't. I let her talk anyway. And then, midway through her story about how she and Liam once got lost on a hike and totally bonded, she paused, gave me a gentle look, and said, I just worry that you're holding on too tight. Like, I get it, you love him. But sometimes, it feels like you're trying too hard. And that kind of energy? It pushes people away. She sipped her wine, tilted her head. You're not jealous, are you? There was a moment of silence. One breath.
Two.
I could have snapped. Could have stood up and screamed that I knew everything. Thrown the wine in her face. Slammed the laptop shut on her lies. Instead, I smiled. That slow, glass-smooth kind of smile that doesn't touch the eyes. Of you, I said softly. Sweetheart, no. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, took my time slicing an apple. She watched me from the couch, a flicker of confusion tightening her posture. You don't think I'm a little jealous? I said, placing the fruit in a dish. Of your success? Your connection with people? She perked up. I mean, maybe just a little. It's natural, right? Totally, I said. Completely natural to envy someone who's so committed to pretending everything's fine. She blinked. What? I placed the dish in front of her. Nothing, I smiled. Just thinking out loud. She forced a laugh. God, I love how honest we can be. And I nodded. Me too. The truth was, by the time she called me jealous, I already had her favorite client's account transferred under my new firm. A screenshot archive of all the messages she'd sent Liam while I was asleep beside him. A subtle DM to her current client's HR team, flagging ethical overlap issues in their consultants' external engagements. In 1 week, she would be out of that contract. In 2, blacklisted from the 3 firms she'd been trying to impress all quarter. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I weaponized restraint. As she left that night, She hugged me tightly. "You're such a good friend," she whispered. I whispered back, "I know." And I watched her walk out the door, heels clicking, braids swinging, future evaporating behind her. Liam texted me minutes later. "I've got something big to show the board Monday. Could use your input. Want to come over this weekend?" I stared at the message. He was flailing,
Clinging.
still believing I was his parachute. I typed back, "Of course. Always happy to help." Because yes, I'd help. I'd help him straight off the ledge he built. The first time I sat across from my lawyer, I felt like a fraud. I kept waiting for her to look up from the manila folder and say, "Wait, this is a revenge story?" But she didn't. She read through the documents, nodded slowly, removed her glasses with the kind of deliberate precision that says you just gave me everything I need to go nuclear, legally. And then she said the most satisfying 5 words I'd heard in weeks. "We can absolutely ruin him." Her name was Nadia. Sharp, efficient, wore matte lipstick and sarcasm like armor. She specialized in corporate litigation, contract reversals, and intellectual property theft, my kind of people. I laid out everything I'd gathered. The IP rights for the UI framework I designed under my name, which Liam integrated into VoltStream's infrastructure without formal licensing. The NDA violations between Sierra and Liam, sharing internal documents over personal texts, pitching client strategy outside the platform. The client testimonials, sent to my new firm, voicing frustration over Liam's product and thanking me for the work I did years ago. Nadia read silently for 10 minutes. Then she looked at me and said, "You realize you're sitting on a golden pile of professional malpractice, right?" I didn't smile. I just said, "I'd like to start the clock." The legal strategy had 3 fronts. 1. Intellectual property claim. I had documented evidence that VoltStream's user interface and core scheduling algorithm originated from wireframes and modules I built 2 years before incorporation. Without proper licensing or a formal contract, Liam had, knowingly, built his product on stolen bones. That alone was grounds for injunction. 2. Cease and desist against Sierra. Nadia drafted a C&D alleging breach of confidentiality and professional misconduct. Not just to shake her, but to get her client's HR to open an inquiry. She wouldn't be fired outright.
Not yet.
But her name would be flagged. Her references?
Toast.
3. Strategic leak preparation. This was the fun one. We prepared a package, clean, well-sourced, with screenshots, call logs, and timestamps, tying VoltStream to investor misconduct, misrepresented ROI figures, and employee complaints. Nothing illegal, just damning. All wrapped in polite language. The kind that makes journalists foam at the mouth. Liam had no idea. That weekend, I sat across from him at his kitchen table, sipping green tea as he walked me through his new board strategy deck. It was a mess. Half-baked numbers. Generic vision statements. Zero contingency plan. He looked at me, hopeful. "You think this lands?" I nodded. "You just need to be confident." He smiled, touched my hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." I looked him right in the eyes. "That's the point, Liam." On Monday, I sent the IP claim to VoltStream's board under confidential legal protocol. Tuesday, the C&D landed in Sierra's inbox, along with a very panicked call from her freelance client. Wednesday, a tech journalist I'd previously helped with data ethics emailed back with a simple, "Is this all verifiable?" I replied, "Every word." By Friday, VoltStream's investors had called for an emergency board meeting. Sierra's client paused her contract, pending internal review. And Liam? He sent me flowers. 12 white roses. The card read, "You've been my calm in the storm. I don't deserve you." For once, he was right. My lawyer wasn't cheap. But neither was the version of me they buried, the woman who built, trusted, and gave without contracts. She's gone now. In her place? A walking, talking legal tsunami in heels. You'd be surprised how quickly people turn on a sinking ship, especially when there's someone already standing on dry land, holding a rope. By the time VoltStream's emergency board meeting was called, I was that rope. And Liam? He was soaking wet, smiling, and still telling everyone it wasn't raining. The meeting was held in a sleek, glass-paneled conference room on the top floor of their co-working space. One of those overdesigned, overpriced places that reeked of too much VC money and not enough soul. Liam wore his signature blazer no-tie combo, pitched his usual charm, and smiled like he still had control of the room. He didn't, because I had already been in every one of their inboxes. Not as a threat, as a solution. It started with Mr. Donnelly, the senior board member. Old money, wary eyes. A man who disliked tech bro optimism and adored hard numbers. I'd met him twice at investor mixers. Both times, I listened more than I spoke. He was the first to reply to my confidential dossier. Would you be willing to step in if we consider restructuring leadership? My reply? Let's not call it a takeover. Let's call it a realignment. Liam opened the meeting with his typical song and dance. Market trends are shifting, he said. But we're adapting. I've got a bold new plan to streamline costs, improve retention, and realign our brand voice with enterprise-level clients. He clicked to the next slide, some half-baked triangle diagram with meaningless buzzwords. Maddie leaned back. Ravi crossed his arms. Donnelly cleared his throat. And what about the recent claims? Liam stiffened. Baseless. Nothing substantial. Just noise from bad faith actors.
Right.
Like the woman who built your scheduling algorithm and now owns the licensing. Would that include the cease and desist your team received? Donnelly asked. Liam blinked. That wasn't directly. And the IP violation claims? Ravi added, smoothly. The ones with your girlfriend's name on them? Liam glanced at me. I tilted my head and gave the smallest smile. He knew. Finally he knew. But it was too late. Because at that exact moment, Donnelly said, we'd like to explore new leadership options. Effective immediately. Silence. Then Maddie chimed in. I second. Ravi, same. Liam looked at me, panic crawling behind his eyes. You knew about this? I met his gaze, calm and clear. I built this. The board voted. It wasn't unanimous. One of Liam's old frat buddies hesitated, but it didn't matter. Majority ruled. Liam was removed as CEO, retained as an advisor, which was corporate for decoration. They asked me to stay on as interim director of product strategy. By end of day, 3 former clients had already emailed me congratulations. One even offered to move forward on a deal only if I was the primary lead. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even smirk. I simply gathered my things, nodded politely, and said, let's get to work. Liam followed me into the hallway as the meeting adjourned. He was pale, angry, and beneath it all, scared. You planned this, he hissed. I turned slowly. You cheated on me with my best friend, I said. You used my work, erased my name, and assumed I'd stay silent. His lips parted. I stepped closer. You didn't lose everything because of me, Liam. You lost everything because you gave it to someone who knew what to do with it. By the time I left the building, the skyline looked different. Not because the city had changed, but because I wasn't walking beneath it anymore. I own my place in it now. They didn't hand me a crown. No champagne. No balloons. No tacky congratulations card signed by people who barely remembered my last name. Just a keycard, a title, and a seat at the head of the table. Honestly, that's all I needed. 3 weeks after the coup, the official paperwork came through. Interim CEO me. Technically temporary. Practically inevitable. By then, the investors had already warmed to me. Clients were returning calls again. Maddie had taken over PR. Ravi cleaned up the code backlog I'd quietly organized into digestible tasks. The interns stopped whispering and started saying thank you. It wasn't just about saving the company.
It was about exorcising it.
Every trace of Liam's ego was like mold, layered deep into the drywall of Voltstream. We had to scrape, gut, and rebuild. But they trusted me to do it. And I did. On the day the board made it official, I wore black. Not for drama. For clarity. Simple blouse. Clean slacks. Low bun. A look that said, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to lead. I walked into the office alone. No fanfare, no entourage. Just my laptop, my plan, and the signature that closed a chapter 2 years too long. When I reached the glass doors of the executive floor, the receptionist looked up. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were." "I am," I said. "Effective today." She smiled. "Congratulations." And this time, the words didn't sting. They landed. The elevator opened. Liam was already in the lounge, slouched in one of those ergonomic chairs he used to joke felt too democratic. He stood when he saw me, like he wasn't sure if he was supposed to bow or flee. "Hey," he said, trying to smile. "Hey," I said back. He held out his hand, not to shake mine,
To give me his company badge. Heavy.
stained with the fingerprints of someone who thought this seat was his birthright. I took it. "That's it?" he asked. "No speech?"
No.
"I told you so." I looked at him, really looked. The stubble. The bags under his eyes. The twitch of pride still refusing to die. And I said, calmly, "I told you when I smiled." He nodded, slow and sour. "You're really gonna let all this go down like that?" I tilted my head. "Liam, this isn't going down. It's going forward. With or without you." He blinked. "I built this." "No," I said. "You branded it." "I built it." Silence. He looked like he wanted to say more. Something biting. Or dramatic. Or guilt-tripping. But all that came out was, "Good luck." I smiled. "I don't need it." When he walked out, it didn't feel like triumph. It felt like vacuum-sealed closure. I didn't cry. Didn't gloat. Didn't feel the rush I expected. Just peace.
Clean.
Quiet. The kind that comes from knowing you didn't burn it down. You just took the match out of their hand. That afternoon, I signed 3 contracts. 1 new enterprise partner. 1 back-channel licensing deal I'd pitched under my LLC before the takeover. And 1 document that made me full, non-interim CEO with 51% voting rights. I signed in silence. No applause. But when I looked up, I saw Maddie watching from the hallway. She gave me a small nod. Respectful. Earned. That was better than any confetti cannon. By 6 p.m., I was the last person in the office. I turned off the lights. Walked through the hallways. Let the silence settle around me like silk. Then I opened my phone. Took a single photo from my new corner office. No caption. Just the city skyline. I sent it to myself. Subject line. To the woman they tried to break. I hadn't heard from Sierra in weeks. Which, frankly, was its own kind of miracle. For someone who'd once texted me daily about everything from her lunch order to her breakup dreams, silence was suspicious. But when her name popped up on my phone, uninvited and bold as ever, it still sent a chill through me. "Can we talk? Please." I ignored it. She followed with another. "I need to see you. I messed up. Please." And then the nuclear one. I didn't think he'd replace me too. I agreed to meet her. Not because I cared, but because some things deserve to be watched as they fall apart. She chose a little cafe near our old Pilates studio. Familiar. Nostalgic. Manipulative, in that special Sierra way. She arrived looking nothing like herself. No lashes. No heels. No glow. Just oversized sunglasses and the kind of cardigan you wear when life stops returning your calls. She sat down across from me like we were still friends. Like the betrayal didn't happen. Like she hadn't twisted the knife with a giggle and a wine glass in hand. "I've been bad," she whispered. No apology. No full sentence. Just a performance. I didn't reply. She sighed, fiddled with the straw in her drink. "He dropped me." Just poof. Said I was a distraction. I raised an eyebrow. I thought he meant it. I stayed quiet. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thin envelope. Pale pink. "I wrote you a letter. I figured maybe if you read it, you'd understand. I know you probably hate me, but I'm not the monster you think I am." I took the envelope. Didn't open it. Didn't even look down at it. Then she leaned in. Eyes suddenly wet. Voice shaking. "You're not really going to shut me out, are you? I mean, we were sisters. I made a mistake. A huge one. But I didn't do it to hurt you. I was just lonely. And stupid.
And
I waited. And you won, okay?
you won.
You have the company. You have the money. The power. He wants you back. He told me. Drunk last week. Said he'd give anything for you to forgive him. So just maybe forgive me too. It was like watching someone try to put a fire out with perfume. I finally spoke. Just once.
Just clearly.
You didn't lose everything because I won, Sierra. You lost everything because you bet against me and lied while smiling in my face. She flinched. And I don't hate you. That would mean I still feel something for you. But I don't. I feel nothing. You're not a villain, Sierra. You're just a small, forgettable footnote in a story where I was never the side character. She started crying. Actual tears, or something like them. I don't have anyone, she said. Everyone's iced me out. I thought maybe you'd be different. I stood up, took the envelope from the table and dropped it in her half-finished coffee. Watched the ink bleed. Watched her crumble. I am different. That's why I didn't become you. And then I walked away.
She didn't follow. Not that time.
Liam didn't crash like a meteor. He eroded slowly, awkwardly in real time. One email bounced back at a time. One networking event no one invited him to. One call that ended in "we'll get back to you," with a dial tone that never rang again. He tried to stay relevant. Started posting pseudo-inspirational LinkedIn content like, "Success is just failure with better PR." And sometimes losing everything is how you find what matters. As if he had been wronged. As if he was the phoenix, not the arsonist. A few colleagues forwarded me screenshots. Apparently, he pitched a new startup to 3 former VoltStream investors. None bit. One even wrote back, "I think you'll find people are less interested in investing in recycled scandals."
Oof.
He tried calling me.
Twice.
Left one voicemail. "I know I messed up, okay?
I know.
But I'm not that guy anymore. I've changed. You were the best thing I had, and I was too stupid to see it. Can we just talk?"
Delete.
He emailed me a week later. Subject line. "For old time's sake." In it, he asked if I'd consider a mutual brand partnership between my new agency and the concept he was working on, VoltMind AI, or some similarly tragic rebrand. He offered equity. He offered public credit. He even offered a handwritten apology to go along with the press release. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my lawyer. Told her to finalize the licensing clause that would ensure anything he built using the VoltStream UI model, or anything resembling it, would trigger a cease and desist with penalties attached. She smiled. Already filed. The next time I saw Liam, it was accidental. We passed each other in the lobby of a venture capital firm I now had a standing invite to pitch at. He looked thinner. More fragile. Still wore that same blazer, though. Still trying to pretend he hadn't lost the game. He opened his mouth, maybe to greet me, maybe to plead. I walked right past him. Didn't break stride. Didn't blink. Just kept moving. Because the best revenge isn't shouting. It's thriving in the silence they're now forced to live in. Later that day, I sent him something. A package. Anonymous return address. Inside? A black box. Velvet lined. And sitting inside it? The exact same silver watch he gave me on our anniversary, the one he bragged cost more than my rent back then. Only now it had a new engraving on the back. Time's up. He didn't respond. Didn't have to. I already knew he got the message. I sent the invitations myself. Digital. Elegant. Unapologetically sharp. You are cordially invited to the launch of Synthesis. My first independent product launch. My company. My team. My tech. My everything. And yes, I invited all of them. The former colleagues who called me Liam's plus one. The board members who once asked me to take notes in meetings I built. Sierra's ex-client who ghosted me when she got the contract. And Sierra herself. I made sure she got the invite. Read receipt confirmed. The venue was a rooftop in the financial district. Exposed brick. Floor-to-ceiling glass. That expensive look that says something important is happening here. I arrived fashionably late. All black. Hair pinned back. No apologies in sight. My assistant handed me the mic as I stepped onto the stage, framed by the skyline. Applause started slow, polite, until they realized I wasn't just the host. I was the reason they were all there. My name is, I began. And this company, this launch, this moment, is the result of everything that almost broke me. Silence. Eyes locked in. Some of you knew me before. Some of you knew me during. And some of you watched it happen. The betrayal. The humiliation. The unraveling. Sierra was near the back. I didn't look directly at her. Didn't have to. But I want to thank every single one of you, I said, smiling. Because your silence made me louder. Your doubt made me sharper. And your pity? Well, that gave me the fire. Laughter. Nervous. Admiring. They didn't know if they were being honored or called out. They were both. After the speech, people circled like bees to champagne. Investors. Former critics. Curious execs suddenly calling me a visionary. Sierra tried to approach. I watched her weave through the crowd like a ghost in heels, her smile thin, rehearsed. My bodyguard intercepted her. Private area, he said flatly. She froze, blinked, stepped back. And for the first time, she looked small in a room she used to own. Underscore 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 underscore. Later, I stood at the balcony, watching the skyline glitter like a love letter to ambition. Maddie joined me, holding 2 glasses. You killed that, she said. I took one. I know. She smiled. You think he'll see the coverage? I turned toward the stars. I hope he does. Underscore 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 underscore. Somewhere below, Liam was probably scrolling, reading headlines, seeing photos. Watching the world realize the woman he thought was breakable was just getting started. Every empire has a founding myth. Some are forged in battle, others in brilliance. Mine was built on betrayal, not because I was weak, but because I let them believe I was. Months have passed. Synthesis is thriving, streamlined, scalable, already attracting whispers from global investors.
I've hired a team I trust.
Diverse, loyal, brilliant. The kind of people who don't need to be flattered to be great. Every Friday, we gather for 1 hour to talk wins, failures, ideas.
We don't talk about him.
We don't talk about her. Not because it's painful, but because they're irrelevant now. My office sits on the 37th floor. Corner windows. Sunlight pouring in. There's no photo of Liam. No trace of Sierra. Just clean walls. A single white orchid, and a framed quote I had custom-made. She remembered who she was, and the game changed. Sometimes, I still hear their names. Sierra bounced between a few temp gigs before rebranding as a freelance lifestyle strategist. Last I heard, she moved to Austin to find herself. Liam tried launching another app, got sued, then ghosted by his own PR firm. He posts vague tweets now about toxic exes and cancel culture. I don't respond.
I don't need to.
Because here's what no one tells you about revenge. It's not about destruction. It's about reclamation. It's not burning down their house. It's building your own, so beautiful, so radiant, so untouchable, that they can't look at it without seeing everything they lost. I used to cry over their betrayal. Now, I thank it. Because without their lies, I would have kept shrinking to fit the spaces they gave me. Instead, I took up space. I became space. And if anyone ever asks how I did it, how I climbed out of the ashes and came back with the crown, I'll just say this. I didn't get even. I got Everything.